Okay, we're recording.
Hello.
Hello. All right, we have Dr. Ulery back on the line again. Thanks for making yourself available and meeting with us, answering some more questions. I'm going to go ahead and just let you take over because I know you have a few things you want to talk to us about.
Well, just like we talked about the other day, one of the things I didn't mention is that I taught school for 10 years prior to going back to school for chiropractic. And my stepfather was a medical doctor. My mom was a nurse. And I was really caught up in the medical industry and that kind of medical model, which is actually I'm not against because it saved my daughter's life, my 12-year-old daughter. She wouldn't be alive today if we didn't have our medical model. But I practiced that kind of lifestyle and just kind of, if I got sick, I would take antibiotics or cortisone. And I really didn't look at how my food and my lifestyle played into my health. And so it wasn't until I went back to school for chiropractic school, which is a whole other story by itself, that I really started looking at how food could affect my health and how the health of my adrenals and my other organs, my other glands played into my health. So that's a big part of my health story. The bottom line is that you are what you eat. And I grew up eating the Ho-Hos, Ding Dongs, Crafton Crunch, Cheetos, Chips Ahoy, and I'd eat a whole sleeve of them at once. Captain Crunch was my absolute most favorite cereal. And, back when I was in my early 20s and 30s, I would start the morning with, even in high school, start the morning with those little Dolly Madison sweet roll packs and the donuts. I'd always go for 2 packs of that. And even when I became a professional, and as a teacher, I would eat donuts or those gigantic muffins that you can get from Sam's that are banana nut muffins that were healthy, but they're literally cake. And I drank, like I said the last time, I drank anywhere between 2 to 4 Diet Cokes or Diet Dr. Peppers before I walked out the door in the morning. I didn't drink coffee, but that's what I drank. And I was literally addicted to all of that. And so it can really affect your mind, your focus, your concentration. And I didn't realize how much it was affecting me. My wife would actually tell me sometimes because of that lifestyle, I was on that roller coaster. I was on that, that high and low blood sugar roller coaster. And so if I didn't eat right on the clock, I was pretty difficult to be around. At least that's what she said. And so that's the part, I've lived that lifestyle and I've changed my lifestyle. Actually, when I was about 36 is that's where I made my transformation. So, and I've slowly added more and more changes as I've gone about my growth. And so that's kind of what I want to share with you guys today is how you implement this kind of work. And my biggest concern is really how we have learned how to eat. We've learned how to eat from the way our parents ate and the way they taught us to eat. And we've also learned how to eat from the media and the diet industry. The diet industry is really not been working on our behalf. Their whole focus has been to sell products. And so I think that, probably I would guess that 95% of the people that watch this video have been on some sort of diet. Would you agree with that, Nikki? Yeah.
I was muted so that.
Oh, you're muted. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you agree with that? 95?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. At least the women, for sure, right? Okay. So what I want to do is kind of look at the misinformation that's been out there. And one of the pieces of misinformation that is disseminated is that you have to eat perfectly. And when I say have to eat perfectly, most people's mindset is I'm going to go through the day, I'm going to do this cleanse, or I'm going to eat on this diet, or I'm going to do this kind of eating style. And that mindset is pass, fail.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Pass, fail, meaning I have a fantastic breakfast. Maybe I have this wonderful shake that I got from, one of the places you can get one from around town, or even from the comfort of my own home with little, quality protein mix in there. It doesn't have a lot of sugar in it. And, um, it's lights out. And then I have a really quality snack for lunch, before lunch, around 10 or 11 o'clock. And then lunchtime, I have a big fat salad, that has some chicken or salmon, some wild salmon, and just a lot of vegetables. It looks like a rainbow, so it's beautiful. Some quality salad dressing, so I'm on a roll. And then somebody hands me some M&Ms, or for dinner I decide to have some French fries. And our mindset, for whatever reason, it clicks and says, well, I've screwed up. I can do whatever I want now. I mean, I've ruined this day. This day is a wash. I'll start again tomorrow. And that mindset is really self-defeating and self-sabotaging, but it's been around for a long time. Most of the people I talk about the idea I'm about to share with you, it's the first time they've ever heard of this. And actually, I have to work on my patients 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 visits, or 5 communications with them before they really understand the concept. It does not have to be pass fail. So let's talk about that first. And then the second thing we want to talk about is how do we prepare for the holidays? Because the holidays can be one of those things that really gets us, because eating, as everybody will agree, I think on the video again, is very emotional.
Mm-hmm.
We feel people are expressed love through food, that your mom or dad or grandma, they may have not ever told you they loved you, but they showed you they loved you by giving you certain foods. My grandmother, she made me pies and cookies, and she could be pretty mean sometimes, but I always knew she loved me because she would make me banana bread. And to this day, if my wife, she makes a phenomenal gluten-free banana bread, I know she loves me, and she's got to hide that thing from me because I can't stop eating it once I start. So we experience a huge range of emotions through food, whether it be stressful eating or, where we've experienced love in the past. So let's talk about the first concept. The first concept is eating is not pass fail. Eating is a percentage grade. So if we're grading ourselves, it's not, I eat perfectly, I make 100, I do one thing wrong, I fail, and so I quit for the day. It's a pass fail. It's not a pass fail, it's a percentage grade. So what does that mean? We have 5 eating opportunities per day. We have a breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and we have 2 snacks. For every meal, I believe in a whole food diet. So what I think should happen at every meal is we should have a quality protein, a quality fat, quality carbohydrates. What does that mean? Really stand away from the starches, the breads, a lot of the sugary foods and the sugary things, and more the green stuff, the stuff that does not turn into sugar quickly. Okay? I'm not saying you can't have the other stuff, but mostly consists of those. And if you're eating like that, you're eating a balanced diet. So 3 meals, 2 snacks per day. That's 5 eating opportunities a day. And how many eating opportunities a week? That's 35 eating opportunities a week. So you grade yourself per day, and you don't grade yourself till the end of the day. And I'll give you a couple of things that you can do, kind of look at your day based on your exercise as well. Because you have to look at your exercise as well on your calorie count. I'm not a big fan of calorie counting. I don't really push calorie counting quite honestly. I think calories are important. I tend to overeat. I was an athlete in college. I played football in college, and if I actually didn't overeat, I would lose weight. And so I taught myself in college to eat until I was full, and then to eat 2 more bites. And so I got to be really careful because I'm a clean my plate kind of guy. So I try not to overload my plate. And if I go back for seconds, I tend to try to go back for the vegetables. So because that's going to fill me up, but it's not going to be a huge calorie or caloric intake. And so that's kind of where I look at the calories, not really what is my total caloric intake. So 5 eating opportunities a day. How would you grade yourself if you ate perfectly? Of course, you give yourself 100%. If you ate a really good breakfast, a good breakfast to me is really eggs with some vegetables and maybe some avocado. That is an awesome breakfast. And people have really gotten the wrong idea over the years about eggs. They have a bad rap. And I'll tell you, there's a doctor out there. He treats people with high cholesterol using an egg diet, and he will drop people from 4, 5, and 600 level of cholesterol down to 150, 180 cholesterol within just a matter of weeks. And he actually helps them with their diabetes as well. So he's an amazing doc. Cholesterol is really, it's a byproduct of eating too much sugar. And where we had the cholesterol boom, where we had the cholesterol jump in this country, is we went from eating real foods to eating a low-fat diet. And the low-fat diet, if you take fat out of food, you start eating fat-free foods, what happens? They have to replace the fat with something else that tastes really good. And what they replace it with is sugar. So that's another topic. Anyways, 5 eating opportunities a day. We ate some eggs. Let's say we ate maybe some bell pepper or some yummy vegetables in the morning. Maybe mix it up in our eggs and throw a couple slices of avocado. Avocado's awesome fat, so you got to have that too. And then for snack, I had a half an apple. I put a little almond butter on it. It was delicious. So I'm rolling. I get to lunchtime. I have my big fat salad that I was telling you about, and it's got the rainbow of different vegetables on it. And I have some really nice chicken. I usually go with white meat chicken, but if you eat dark meat chicken, that's fine. But my neighbor, the person I go to lunch with, they order some cheesecake, and they offer me a bite. And of course, I don't want to be rude, because none of you guys want to be rude. That's always the reason we eat the cheesecake, right? So I don't want to be rude, so I take 2 bites of the cheesecake, all right? Maybe 3. And how many points would you say in your mind are taken off for that? Honestly, 3 bites of cheesecake, come on. Maybe 5, maybe 7 points total. Okay, so right now we're at a 93. We go to our snack time between lunch and dinner. Snack time, I have a handful of walnuts or a handful of almonds. Again, a little piece of fruit. I'm going to eat the other half of my apple maybe. And then dinner time, I'm going to eat a big, nice salmon again, let's say. Wild salmon, nice salmon steak. I'm going to eat some quality salad. I'm going to eat some vegetables on top of that, maybe some green beans, and maybe some rice or some quinoa, or even let's go crazy and have some sweet potato or potato. And what would you give me for that grade? I mean, that's a really good grade, guys. And some people look at that grade as like an 85. I've heard one person tell me because of the cheesecake and the potato, that's like a 75. That's a really high B or a low A. I'd say kind of 92, 91. That's what I would grade myself for a diet like that. And so what if I added a glass of wine? I really wanted a glass of wine with that. And I said, I'm the red wine guy, but of course with salmon, you want to go with white. White has a little bit more sugar in it. I'm going to take 5 more points off for that. So that's an 87. All right. So if you're on the pass fail, I just failed. But if we're on the percentage grade, guys, you got to get really, really realistic about what you're putting in your body. And that's a really excellent day. Now, what if you did something else? What if you did something like a burger during the day? All right. Maybe you had to have some P. Terry's. I've not personally eaten P. Terry's. I don't know if I lose credibility with that in Austin. But P. Terry's, if I did that, I would order a burger. I would have the bun taken off. I don't want the bun. I'm a gluten-free guy. But even if I wasn't a gluten-free guy, that's the way I do it. In fact, I might even go a double meat burger with no bun. Okay? Do I get some fries? Oh, goodness, yes. I love fries. All right? So I get some fries. I load up on the salad and the condiments, the tomatoes. And how many points would you say that it takes off? You know, maybe 5, 7, 8, maybe. I mean, come on. Yeah.
Are they sweet potato fries or are they white potato fries?
And you got to look at what kind of fries, you know. What's funny is my family went out in not San Marcos, in College Station. We took my daughter out the other day, and they had a place that's kind of like Hop Dottie's out there. And we walked up to the counter, and the first question my wife asked was, are you guys battering your fries? Why would you put wheat flour on a perfectly good potato? Well, they do it. And so we actually switched over to the sweet potato fries. A sweet potato fry is a better grade. Now, it's still fried, you know, and so fried food's not as healthy, obviously. But you can see where I'm going with the grading system. you just got to be nicer to yourself, and you have to lighten up, because the more pressure you put on yourself around the food, really, the more stressful this whole process becomes, the more overwhelmed you are, the harder you are on yourself. And when I say the harder you are on yourself, everybody is talking trash about themselves inside their head about their food. It is crazy. And this is not a sexist remark. Women are the worst. Mm-hmm. And there's this really crazy relationship that women have with food. And it's because of media. And it's because of all of the stress and all of the, the pictures you guys see on magazines and everything else. It's really taken this whole food thing to a really unhealthy place. And so the purpose of food is to get healthy, to basically give your body sustenance so your body can repair itself. We have to eat to live, not live to eat. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you from a person who struggles with this every day, because I am a sugar addict. I'm a sugar junkie, and I've had to break that habit. I got to kind of break it every day. Mm-hmm. So I hope that helps. Do you have any questions around that, Nikki, at all?
No, I'm so happy. Everything you just said is exactly the right in line with what I've been talking to people about. So I couldn't agree more. And I think that, the way that you explain that with the pass-fail versus the, percentage grade is something that's very practical and people can understand. And yeah, I agree with you. Like, you just have to give yourself a break. And, we're not going for perfection. We're not going.
Perfection is not going to get you anywhere. It's persistence.
Yes.
Persistence.
Yes.
Okay. And so the only ways you succeed in this life is you got to get back up. Okay. And you got to lighten up again. When I say you got to lighten up, I'm not talking from an area of perfection. I'm talking from an area of I'm coaching myself at the same time, because I'm a firstborn perfectionist. I love controlling the world around me, and I have to constantly give myself a break. And as my wife tells me frequently, and many of my friends tell me, hey, lighten up on yourself. All right, let's talk about the next thing, because it's right around the corner, and that is the holidays. All right. So 3 things I want to mention. One thing is Halloween. I don't know if you guys are Halloween fans. I am not a Halloween fan. In fact, it's my least favorite holiday, because I hate when people knock on my door, scream at me, and yell at me, tell me to give them candy. And so I loved it when I was a kid, but I don't love it as much anymore. One of the things that we teach in our house, I was concerned about the quantity of candy we were bringing home. Now, understand, I used to pride myself on the amount of candy I'd bring home. And I would consume not only my candy, but everybody else in the house's candy. And so, again, I was a sugar junkie. So what's really important is, how can you balance that? One of the things we teach in our house, and I've told some of my patients this strategy, and it has been very helpful for some of them. If you have younger kids, what we do is we say that we actually tell them that they can keep 3 pieces of candy from what they collect. They can pick the best 3 pieces of candy they want. They can eat 1 piece of candy and then 3 pieces of candy for later. And then what we do is all the rest of the candy goes into a big bucket in our living room, and the witch fairy visits our house. Now, she has acne. She has really rotted out teeth. She's really struggling with her weight, thin hair, because it's so bad for her. And we kind of tell them about this stuff. She comes and takes all the candy, and in exchange for the candy, she lives little trinket gifts for them. So if you got little ones and you're trying to manage, how am I going to do this candy thing? And I'm not worried about the kids as much as I'm worried about you, because what happens? The kids are eating it and you're eating it because it's in the house. Yeah. And so we got to get this out of here. There's people in town you can donate that to. You can donate it to the shelters. There's a dentist in town I think you can donate. I wish I knew his name, but he actually sends it across to our soldiers. And so that's one strategy. Strategy number 2, let's talk about Thanksgiving and Christmas. Thanksgiving and Christmas are loaded with sweets. They're loaded with pastries and cookies and just all the lovely goodness. If you're trying to transition away from gluten, one of the strategies I recommend is look around. There are so many gluten-free options these days. And my wife did not fully transition over we're a gluten-free family. And we're mostly dairy-free in our house. And my wife, I had a really big struggle with Judy switching over, transitioning to gluten-free. And she told me one year, if I can make a gluten-free cornbread dressing as good as my mom's, that is gluten-full, then I'll do this thing. And she transition because she got some biscuit mix and a cornbread mix and made this phenomenal cornbread dressing that we all stuff ourselves up with every year. And but you couldn't tell the difference. So give this stuff a try, okay? But let's look at the strategy again we talked about. It's a percentage, okay? So because you ate pie, because you ate, whatever those things that you're connected to from your family traditions, and I'm not saying don't eat those things unless, of course, you have a gluten sensitivity or dairy sensitivity or a sensitivity that's making you sick in some way. Then you have to really consider looking at different options, but grade yourself on a percentage basis. This is what I tell all my patients when they're struggling with this stuff. What is your grade that you're holding yourself to lose weight or to meet the goals you're trying to meet? I'm typically coaching people, let's shoot for 85 to 90% on a day-to-day, year-round basis. But around Thanksgiving, what I ask them is, what is realistic for you? What seems like a realistic number for you that you can do and achieve where you feel like you don't feel like you failed, but at the same time, you got to participate in a lot of the traditions that you love, that you felt loved by, and all those things. And so typically that number runs about 75 to 80. Okay. I've had a couple people say 60. I try to talk them up to 70. And so, but what happens typically is these people will come back and we'll talk, and they usually score higher than they thought they were going to score. And that's always very exciting them because they've had this pass-fail mentality in the past. And if you're going pass-fail during the holidays, you are feeling miserable about yourself. And there's too many pressures around the holidays as it is with family and rich foods and expenses and all those things. You don't need to be food to be one of those stressors. And so you look at what you want to do. What is your goal that you're going to set for your Thanksgiving? What is your goal you're going to set for your Christmas? Realistically, and even New Year's, honestly, and really try to focus on that goal and achieving that. Now, one of the things I forgot, Nikki, was you have those 5 meals in a day, but you have 7 meals in a week. So what if you make a 50, or a 60 one of those days? Say Friday night, you go out and have a crazy, awesome meal, and you just kind of all day long you went crazy. Or what's the other thing? We're on the road traveling, and we didn't have many choices. We're traveling to Beaumont, Texas, and there was nothing else to eat. Well, what you do is you average out your week, And so what if you made 85 every day except for that one day? That grade is still a pretty high grade. It's still in the 80s, if not the high 70s. So you got to, again, give yourself a break. But if you're doing road travel, my 2 favorite places to eat on the road, and they're pretty much in every town, is Chipotle. Okay, you can eat at Chipotle. You can get their salad. You can get the burrito bowl without the wrap. I always recommend that. Or Jason's Deli. Jason's Deli is a place you can eat in any town. If you can find a Jason's Deli in the town you're traveling to, they actually serve gluten-free sandwiches, even in Beaumont. And so it's pretty amazing. So what do you think?
Right. I think that sounds good.
Yeah.
I think that people can do that. I think those are achievable goals to set, and makes it easier for people to feel like they can be successful at it.
Okay. Well,
and beat themselves up.
Right. That's the key, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we talked about stressful eating.
Yes.
What do you do for stressful eating? Stressful eating is tough. My stressful eating is, I don't stressful eat as much as I stressful like a glass of wine. Okay. And when I drink a glass of red wine, I want chocolate. I've learned over the years to put chocolate in wine. It's fantastic. But
like that dark chocolate.
It just melts in your mouth. And, especially they have truffles at Whole Foods that are fantastic. So let's talk about that. Number one, really try to limit yourself to the weekends. And that's a way, if you can not do it every night of the week, and it's easy to get in that habit, especially in the holidays. So if you get in that habit over the holidays, you want to pull yourself out of it, detox, do a really nice cleanse. Nikki can talk to you about cleanses and you guys can do a cleanse in the new year. I think that's a great idea, by the way, doing some kind of detox cleanse in the new year where you just kind of clean it all up. Mm-hmm. And then, but you got to avoid doing the drinks during the week, okay, and really leave them to the weekend. The other piece is one of the strategies I've been employing. I'm also on a cleanse. I don't know if I told you that, but I'm currently doing a cleanse. And one of the things that I've really been craving, sugar. Like, I mean, really, and it's at nighttime. You know, it's after dinner, about an hour and a half afterwards. And so what I've been doing is two things. I'll make a cup of herbal tea. So there's a process to herbal tea, right? You have to boil the water, you have to steep the tea, you have to wait. And then I kind of sip that tea. And after I'm done, if I still want something, if I'm still having a craving, then I do it. I have whatever I'm craving. But the problem is so often we crave this stuff. And while we're beating the snot out of ourselves as we walk into the cabinet or the fridge, pull it out, cut it, or pour it, or whatever we're doing, and eat it, we're so hard on ourselves, and we know that we shouldn't be eating this stuff. So if you can break the pattern that you get in of looking in the fridge because you're bored, or searching the food cabinet because you're bored or because you're craving something, break it with some other routine. And so that's what I've done during my cleanse here, and it's been a really nice cleanse for me. And I'm doing a detox tea, which you can get I think it's Yoga brand at Whole Foods. It makes a detox tea. So I feel like I'm actually detoxing with my tea. And then what I've done, now this is a season for it, I'm using Honeycrisp apples. And so, yeah. And so at lunch, sometimes I have a craving. So what I'll do is I'll just cut my apple in half and I'll just slice it and I'll eat it a piece at a time. Sometimes I'll dip it in an almond butter. I can also do, at the nighttime, I will do that as well. But that's what I give myself if I still have a sugar craving after my tea. And so that's one thing you can do. There's a lot of other options out there. I just found, I went to Whole Foods. That's part of where I was running around tonight. And I found some paleo-friendly granola. So I'm going to try that out and see how that tastes. But there's all these different things that we have access to living in Austin, Texas. Mm-hmm. The rest of the world really doesn't have access to, because we have just a tremendous amount of resources in this town.
And don't you think also for the stress eating and the emotional eating, having an accountability partner?
Yeah, the accountability partner.
A girlfriend or someone you can call and, vent to them, or, get it off your chest, or somebody that'll say, don't eat that, eat this instead, or I'll come over and.
Yeah, sometimes that helps, but I don't like that for somebody who feels guilty all the time already. And so
that makes sense.
Yeah, let me show you something. I wouldn't plan on doing this, so we're kind of doing this off the cuff. There's a technique that I teach most of my patients. I call them the pinky point treatment. It's an emotional treatment or a stress treatment. It's phenomenal when you're feeling stressed out, when you're having difficult conversations with other people, when you got crazy noise running through your head, all that self-sabotage talk, when you're overwhelmed, any of these scenarios where you're just feeling just completely bombarded. There's a point on your pinky nail. So here's my hand on the inside part of the pinky nail, right there. Yeah, you just cover that nail with the inside part of that nail with your thumb, and you can hold it with both hands. And so a lot of people say it looks like the yoga mudra, and it's not a mudra that I know of. It's actually an acupuncture point right there on the inside of the nail. There's an acupuncture point for the heart. And so what I always tell people is, the heart is really where we need to be coming from. I have a strong faith life. I always say God lives in my heart. So when I'm in my heart, when I push that button there, it actually just gets me out of my head and pulls me into my heart. And so that's something you could do when you're feeling a lot of noise or a lot of stress, and you want to go to food, because that's a pattern, that's a habit you've developed. Now, there's people out there that can do more work. There's a lot of really cool emotional techniques. One of them is called EFT, or emotional freedom technique, that you can actually look up on the internet, emotional freedom technique. And that is a very powerful technique too, that you could do work around your relationship with food or sugar or whatever you want to call that. So there's different ways to do that. I'd be real careful. I think for some people, having a partner is a really good idea. For other people, it's kind of dangerous because it can feed that guilt thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we don't want people feeling more guilty around food.
Nope.
Right? Okay. What was the other question?
Great advice. Someone had asked about diabetes type 2, if that was genetic or diet driven. We talked about that was a little bit of both.
Yeah, there's a philosophy in this country about things being genetic. My mom had. I'm quoting things I've heard. My mom had anxiety. My mom had depression. My dad had heart disease. My grandfather, my grandmother, and my mom had strokes. You know, so it's just going to happen. Diabetes, so it's just going to happen. And the stat out there, there's a stat that's pretty amazing actually. After the age of 40, 95% of what happens to your body, 95% of the factors that play into you having diabetes, heart attack, stroke, cancer are lifestyle related. 95% after the age of 40. Before the age of 40, especially in the young, if they're big, heavy cancers, they're usually genetic and they're playing a big role into it. But it's what you do to your genes, not the genes themselves. So the better you treat your genes, the better things should work out, you know, and you're giving yourself a chance. I want to die a healthy person. That's my dream. I don't want to die in a hospital, spending all my time in the hospital. And so diabetes type 2 used to be called adult onset diabetes. And they've stopped calling it that because now you're having more and more and more kids who are developing diabetes type 2. Mm-hmm. And it's really, really scary. And in fact, the latest research in the papers, I don't know if you guys have read that, we're talking about type 3 diabetes. And actually the blood sugars are going up so high that the sugars are crossing the blood-brain barrier and actually contributing to Alzheimer's. Mm-hmm. So, and I think that's a big factor. You know, we're seeing a lot of that these days. I think there's probably, I would guess, you know, at least 70% of the people, maybe 80% of the people on this that watch this video have had dementia or Alzheimer's affect them in some way in their family. And it's a concern for everybody. Did that answer the question, right?
Yes, it did. I'm thinking about what you said after 40, you know, how your lifestyle is the cause of most
conditions
after 40. And I'm thinking to myself how it's really only been a few years that I've been taking care of myself and really watching what I'm eating and really making good food choices. And I'm glad that I made that change. But I also want to say to the people that are listening to this call that may just this week have started doing that, you know, just this week started making changes, not to let that deter you, because I mean, I'm not a doctor, but I would think that as soon as you start making those changes, your body's going to respond in a positive way, and you know, you'll start backtracking. And if that makes sense.
You know the beautiful thing about it is the most important piece of information I could communicate in this call today is that within 1 year's time, every cell of the body has replaced itself. So if I eat better for the entire year, maybe not perfectly, but I'm persistent, mm-hmm. and I'm making slow changes. I'm doing this cleanse. I picked up a couple new things. I'm adopting those in my lifestyle. Maybe next year I'll do another cleanse. I'll pick up a couple more habits. Slowly, you're going to turn the tide. You're going to make some changes. You're going to make some big lifestyle changes. Within that year's time frame, you're going to have healthier cells in that year. Now, things that need to happen, it's not just healthy eating that has to happen. You have to do healthy exercise. Mm-hmm. And it's not just healthy eating and healthy exercise, but you have to pull the garbage out of the system. It's very, very important, because if you don't pull the garbage out, you're trying to make healthy cells and you're trying to exercise, but your body's got all this garbage trapped in it. And that includes, you know, cleansing, fasting. There's all sorts of different things you could do. And just to be clear, fasting can be doing a juice cleanse. Mm-hmm. You can do the master cleanse, which is what they call the lemonade diet also, mm-hmm. or the lemonade cleanse. Mm-hmm. But fasting, it can also be, I'm not doing any coffee. I'm fasting from coffee. I'm mm-hmm. fasting from, you guys are fasting from sugar. So you guys are doing a fast. And so just remember, you know, you can do these things but you got to do something to help take the stuff out of the system. So the sweating and the moving is good. Epsom salts baths and other detox methods, skin brushing, those are all very good as well.
Excellent. I have 2 more questions for you. The first one is, I have someone that I care about a lot that is drinking a I don't know if it's like a protein. I'm not really familiar with it, but it's maybe a post workout or pre workout protein drink. And one of the top four ingredients is sucrose. So, how is that? Is that different from sucralose or is that the same? I'm
Yeah.
trying to.
So, what's one of the things that I saw on a lot of the posts, and I thought it was really cool how people were taking pictures of the food
Mhm.
and putting it on the site and just kind of communicating that way. I think that's fantastic. I want to the way I look at a packaging. When I look at a package, many people look at the fat content, they look at the sugar content, they look at the protein content. Excuse me. I don't look at those things first. I may look at them, but it's a secondary evaluation. The first evaluation I do is I look at the ingredient list. And so what's in that ingredient list? Where does it start with? The closer it is to the beginning of the list, the higher concentration of that they have in that food. So the first thing I'm looking for personally is I'm looking for anything that has gluten or could have gluten. Soy sauce, wheat flour, any kind of flour. That's for me the first thing I'm always looking for. I'm often looking for the dairy components as well. So that'd be any kind of milk or dairy, but it also is casein and caseinate. Then I'm
Mhm.
looking for the things that I can't pronounce, or the chemicals that sound very dangerous or all that kind of stuff. But if sugar, in any form, if sugar is in that top 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 products, I really question that product, especially if I'm on a sugar cleanse, right?
Mhm.
Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do this cleanse, but I'm using a product that actually has sugar in it. Now, sucrose is sugar. It's
Okay,
table sugar. Okay. Sucralose is what we were talking about on the last call. That's Splenda.
got it.
Sucralose is it's called a chlorinated hydrocarbon. And to me, and the research that I've done, I feel that is a very toxic product, and I won't even touch it. And many of the researchers and the people who are studying it and determining whether it was safe or not don't eat it as well, based on a quote that I found. And so
Mhm.
you want to make sure that you're looking at protein drinks that have a lower level of sweetener in them, whether it be evaporated cane juice or sucrose or any of the other sweeteners. The two that I really look for the most, I look for sucrose and I look for maltodextrin. I don't want those two in my protein unless the sucrose is way down at the end of the list. But I'd prefer to have stevia as the sweetener in whatever product I'm using in a protein because I want it to have a high protein content. I'm looking for like 20 plus grams per serving is what I'm looking for. Okay, that's what I'm looking for because I'm a type O, so I need my protein.
Okay.
But if you're doing that, really, you got to watch. And how do you feel after you do it? How long does it sustain you? Are
Mhm.
you craving more sugar? Is anything happening in your body? Are you bloating after you eat it? Are
Mhm.
you um, are you feeling satiated? And does that satiated feeling persist? Or again, a couple hours later, are you craving sugar again?
Mhm.
And if
And
that's
possibly migraines or headaches. Is that something that we would?
the
Or,
thing about migraines, headaches, and migraine headaches, changing bowel pattern, achy all over. Those are all detox symptoms. And
okay.
so it'd be hard without doing an exam to figure out exactly what the connection is. But if you're a sugar junkie, I'd be real careful using protein drinks that have a high sugar in them. I would really move towards protein that has a lower sugar content. There's plenty of them out there. I think you have one to offer. There's products you can go. The beautiful thing about again Whole Foods is they have the protein aisle, and back in the day you had to buy the big jug, which was $40 or
Right.
$50 or $60, and it tasted like sawdust, and you didn't want to use it, and so you were just out $50. And so now they have single serving packs, and you
Yeah.
can try dozens of different kinds and see which one you like
It
the
works
most.
for you. Right.
Exactly. And one of the ones that I liked the most for a while was it was called J Rob, and they have some egg white protein, and I
Mhm.
really liked it. But my body is not responding to it well anymore. It kind of makes me a little nauseous, and
Mhm.
that's what I do when I eat. I pay attention to how I feel afterwards. And so, if you're feeling symptoms after you eat, it's really important to pay attention to that. And if I feel crummy, one of the first things I do is say, "What did I eat? For lunch? What did I eat for breakfast? What have I eaten today?" And so yeah, I'd be real careful with those products. And you want to look in there. I'm not a fan of soy proteins. I'm not a fan of whey-based proteins. Those are they have some grass-fed whey-based proteins that I think would be a little better. But in general, I tend to steer people away from those two.
Yeah.
Pea protein. There's a lot of different proteins that are vegan. I think those are really, really good products.
Okay. I mean, I think that's
All.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you, and
I appreciate you.
yeah. Well, I'm having fun watching you guys and watching everybody interact, and I hope I'm not butting in too much. I feel like I'm the only guy in the group, but anywhere I can help.
Guys, they need to speak up because they're in there.
Well, unfortunately, there's no presence. There's no presence, so the guys need to make a presence. Maybe they're just doing perfectly. Right.
Yeah.
The other thing is, let's make sure you're doing your exercise. Make sure. Are you talking about doing soaks at all or skin brushing?
I haven't, but most people know I'm kind of obsessed with Epsom salt, so they get tired of me.
It's a cheap way to get your cleanse on. So it's a really good way to kind of help that process. You're doing all this good stuff. Make sure you're getting that stuff out. Make sure you're going to the bathroom. Okay. If you're constipated while you're doing a detox, that's not a good combination. And as my two kids will tell you, my two youngest, my 9 and 11-year-old, made some tea for themselves one night, and it happened to be smooth move tea. And they said it tasted wonderful, but we had a big laugh because they were both in the bathroom pretty shortly after that. So there's all sorts of things that you can do for yourself. And I applaud all of you for doing such a good job and working. And if there's anything I can do to help you guys, or you want to maybe talk a little bit more, or you need a little help kind of in some areas that you're having problems, then you give us a call at the office and we'll help you out.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ulery. You've really, really made a difference in this challenge for us.
Well, I'm really pleased to have helped, and I look forward to hearing how everybody does during the holidays.
Yeah, we'll have to have a free challenge post holidays, like
it'll be really interesting to kind of get back together.
Sugar shift challenge to see.
Yeah, for sure. That. All right. Well, good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.
All right. God bless.
Bye.